What is up, guys, and welcome back to another Crypto with Leo YouTube video. Now, this is a kind of out the blue video. Nothing has been planned with this. It's just we've seen a multitude of very interesting news articles and interviews get released in the past few days, or literally in the past day or so. That being the likes of Brad Garlinghouse, Gary Gensler, the chairman of the SEC. And I'd be doing you guys a disservice if I didn't come and drop this for you and explain pretty much my opinion on the matter and kind of what we could expect going forward, or somewhat maybe what this stuff is telling us. So I think what we should do is jump straight in. And I think first of all, highlight why we're at such an important time in the lawsuit right now. That, of course, being we did just finish the expert discovery phase, that being on the 28th of February. And now we are just waiting for quite a few decisions to be made from the one, the only Judge Netburn, which, for those that don't know, she was taking control of the expert discovery phase within this lawsuit. Now, she's been doing a pretty standout job. Obviously, she's been pretty lenient with the SEC. I think we can all agree on that. However, I would say it's these decisions right now, these ones right now, that are going to be so important to somewhat the pressure that is going to be sitting upon the SEC's shoulders moving forward with this lawsuit. One of the most important ones being this one right here, and that is Ripple and the individual defendants have filed their opposition of the SEC's motion for partial reconsideration. Now, I have made a whole separate video being a lawsuit update where I explain pretty much, bring you completely up to date with the lawsuit in itself. But I wanted to briefly run through this just to give you guys some context before we jump into the next pretty much interviews, and I take you through them. So pretty much the context of this one is these are to do with Bill Hinman's famous 2018 speech. The reconsideration aspect is that the SEC are trying to change their whole stance on it, saying, no, this wasn't actually Bill Hinman's personal opinion, even though he has signed an affidavit to say it was. And they've been saying it since the beginning of the lawsuit. They're saying that, no, it was actually the opinion of a division within the SEC, that being the Division of Corporation Finance. Now, obviously, the benefit of them doing this is that it will protect everything to do with that speech, that being the emails, which is pretty much what they're trying to get handed over. All information related to this speech, and that basically, if it did get recognized and reconsidered by Judge Netburn, the SEC would basically be allowed to protect it using DPP, which is deliberative process privilege, a rule that protects government bodies in the US. But I think, look, this is why it's so important that that doesn't go through. And look, me personally, yes, you can call me biased. I don't care. You guys know from my content, I try and be as unbiased as possible. I don't think it's going to happen. And I do think these are going to get turned over. And now, of course, that is, being on the more optimistic side of things. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. But I do believe these are going to get handed over. And when it does, it is going to put a ton of pressure on the SEC. So I think this is pretty much the next thing. And this is why this article is good and why I wanted to bring it to you just before we get into the interviews, guys, because they are very, very interesting. And that is the SEC v. Ripple, next court decision critical for settlement or complete victory. Now, I think this is kind of where everyone's at right now, especially with these interviews, which we'll jump into, I think everyone's sliding towards the side of, look, Ripple most likely are going to be pulling this off. And that the question is now, not are they going to lose? The question is it going to be a settlement or is it going to be a complete victory? Now, of course, that does very closely relate to what Gary Gensler said, but I'll show you that clip shortly. But I think, first of all, this is one of the most important things that we do want handed over, and that is 63 Hinman emails could bring SEC to the table. And that, remember, guys, those emails being to do with this 2018 speech. And of course, there's also things to do with the likes of notes that were taken between Brad Garlinghouse in a meeting with a commissioner in the SEC. So I'll be honest with you, the SEC, look, I wouldn't want to be in their shoes, put it that way. Usually these governing bodies are pretty well protected, but yeah, they're under some pretty crazy pressure. But regarding that in general, this person even says, or this is from attorney Jeremy Hogan, says, I'm going out on a limb and predict Judge Netburn denies the SEC's motion for reconsideration, affirming her ruling that the 63 Hinman emails be produced. I'm also to predict that Eastbrook notes regarding the meeting Roisman must also be turned over. So basically, this is attorney Jeremy Hogan. You can see I'm on the more optimistic side. However, look, attorney Jeremy Hogan, this guy, if you don't watch his content, definitely do. He is an attorney himself. He is very good and literate at understanding everything going on. So yeah, massive shout out to him. But he's basically saying these Eastbrook notes, which are from the meeting between Roisman and Brad Garlinghouse, they will be turned over. And he's saying the emails will not be turned over. Now, look, if both those things are turned over, that is the best case scenario. It goes without saying. But one or the other, either way, is going to do very well. I'd like to see both turned over, to be honest with you. I think it's at a point now where the SEC, they've so obviously completely stacked it. I don't know how better way to word it. They fluffed it, because they're now completely changing their stance, saying, no, this wasn't his personal opinion. This was the opinion of a division in the SEC. When if you see any SEC speech, guys, any commissioner from the SEC, it is literally within their duty to say that this is their personal opinion to protect the SEC. So how they're gonna, go around changing their stance. But like I said, I don't claim to fully understand the power of law. I've always said this, guys. Understanding law and how to use it is literally a cheat code to life. Trust me. And I think, the SEC at the end of the day, they're gonna have great attorneys, just like Ripple will as well. But I think that's pretty much up to date on the lawsuit side of things, but it gives you an insight into why the SEC is under so much pressure and a very good amount of context as to why these meetings and these interviews, which we're literally about to show now, are very, very important. Now, of course, the first one I'm going to show you is an interview from Brad Garlinghouse with Fox News. And basically, I've already clipped the stuff, as in I've got it at the timings that we need to. So just bear with me. I have to turn my mic around so you guys can hear it as well. But he says some extremely interesting things, which I'll basically talk about each time we pause and start again. So let's get straight into it.
Some of the things I hear out of Washington is just I fear that there's a lack of knowledge. There's a lack of information about how crypto really works. And I think it does a disservice to responsible actors like Ripple, who are working with governments, with sanctions. Everything that is enforced from a sanction point of view through fiat currency, anything that Ripple does is enforced in the exact same way. So there's no different level playing field. And I think in some ways I heard Senator Warren saying things yesterday that felt like it's holding crypto to a different standard and expecting, for example, a blanket ban of all crypto in some of these countries in a way that, like, well, you can still use PayPal, you can still use these, some of these other things, and I don't think we should treat them differently.
Now, what he just said there was spot on, but I just think, tapping into it as well, there's something he says later on which is kind of funny actually, and it does shine a pretty funny light on the government in general. But I think what is interesting is, like, does that sound like someone who is currently really feeling the pressure of a lawsuit with the SEC? He's literally talking about Ripple and XRP being a body that works with the governments and aligns with, almost works to align with the current, or what there is of clarity right now. They want to be in a position where, they're not doing anything like naughty. They're not doing anything crazy like that. They're putting themselves in a position to work alongside government, as in with regulations, etc. Now, of course, I understand this is where a lot of the hate comes for XRP, but at the end of the day, guys, or RippleNet in general, it's literally built into their use case. They are meant to be enterprise adopted. Like, they're a form of liquidity, and RippleNet is the software it runs on, etc. So I think, take it with a grain of salt, guys. I take my bets with XRP for good reason and for good research. But I think it's really interesting because I just thought that really doesn't sound like someone who's, especially the way he said, we work and align with government sanctions, etc. But that doesn't sound like someone who's currently in a lawsuit with the SEC. Furthermore, he obviously goes on to reference the fact that there's been a lot of senators, politicians, etc., throughout the world saying, we need to, cryptocurrency needs to take action and all of this stuff. But it's quite funny in the fact that, cryptocurrency is literally simply doing what it was designed to be, decentralized, not controlled by a governing body, etc., things like that. And the government, and I think I tweeted this the other day, I was kind of saying they're being like basically taught in a harsh way that you guys don't actually have control of this. And I think this is where it's coming in, and it's almost like these little pressure points that is going to make them be like, what we need to do, we need to build some form of regulation around this to back ourselves up, to give us some sort of grasp on what is going on. Because, like, I'm going to be honest with you guys, it's happening whether they like it or not. I mean, what is the donation up to now with Ukraine? I think it's around $50 million. $50 million has been donated to Ukraine because of cryptocurrency. No middleman, nothing like that was used. No centralized body was used. It was literally people donating straight to Ukraine. And I just think that is awesome. And I just think it's like proven utility smack in their face, like a pie in the face. And that is why they're literally now like, oh, we don't have control of this. We need to do something about it. Cryptocurrency is the bad guy because we can't sanction it. We can't stop it. No, guys, that's why it's the good guy. You just need to take advantage of that. But anyway, that's beside the point. I'm completely going off topic here. Let's get into the next statement he said, because this is where it does kind of get quite funny. And I do apologize. These are a bit longer, but this is where he actually references something to do with Ethereum and gives his opinion on that matter.
But it's really not significantly dissimilar.
Why are they so obsessed with it? It's like so weird.
I think it's a kind of clickbait. It's a
He's basically asking, why is the government so obsessed with crypto?
hot item. I think people, it adds a relevance and excitement around some of these things, but I think people don't understand.
Well, we had spoken to Gary.
I find that a bit hilarious. That's what I was mentioning earlier. He literally just said the government is clickbaiting. They are clickbaiting by using crypto and by pushing the name of it out everywhere. And I wonder why they're doing that. Now, this is complete conspiracy talk, guys. And I hope I have the freedom to talk like this on my channel with you guys and you guys respect it. But I do believe there's always been place with governments or anything with regarding to news that they're always going to filter through, you know, as in they start things slow. They're never just going to chuck it all at you at once. They're never one day going to come out and be like, crypto's regulated. You now use crypto. This is Bitcoin's a reserve currency, something like that. That's just a joke. But basically, I just think they filter these things through it. It's like right now, everyone on the news is hearing about cryptocurrency. Everyone is hearing about it. Now, whether they understand it or not, it is now in their minds. And I think it's little things like that, you know, slowly putting the name out there in regards to cryptocurrency, that when it does eventually happen, when there is some form of reset, people are now going to be like, oh, we kind of knew it was coming. Oh, I guess I've been hearing about it a lot. They're not going to be crazy. Like, they're not going to be like, what the hell is this? I never saw this coming. I hope that kind of makes sense, or I've made sense of that. Probably could have worded it better, but let's move on, because now we're getting into Gary Gensler, and then that will take us into the last interview clip, which may have hinted at the SEC being under some undeniable pressure.
Gary Gensler of the Securities and Exchange Commission. I know you saw that interview because we were emailing afterward about it, but he specifically tried to say that he wants to very much focus on what's a security and what is an actual token, a cryptocurrency. I feel like if that's the case and he's holding you to that standard, at some point he's going to have to go after Ether as well, because Ether and Ethereum are those two very similar paths, just like XRP and Ripple, are they?
I mean, this is just classic media. They're trying to instigate something right here just to put that out there, but I thought it was quite cool. They see it as well. We've been talking about it, Ethereum free pass or whatever, and now the media is kind of playing into it as well.
Look, I think that's absolutely true. I don't want to comment on what they should or shouldn't do. I think as it relates to Ethereum, my view is it's very clear Ethereum's a currency. It's very clear XRP is a currency, and that the SEC. I mean, he was interviewed yesterday. Gary Gensler was, or maybe it was even this morning, and commented that, hey, we're going to lose some cases. This is the definition of regulation by enforcement.
I mean, clearly, of course, he has. Brad Garlinghouse has been pretty well media trained. But I think it just highlights the point right there that, Ripple or XRP, both of them right now are really at the forefront of this battle. And like he mentioned at the end, the SEC are purely just regulating through enforcement, completely unethical, but it's because they have no grasp of the situation, how to regulate it. And I truly believe this is the route they're going to take. And whether it be, XRP, Ripple completely demolish them in this lawsuit, there is a chance of that. There's also the point that I do believe somewhat that we're going to see the private sector and the public sector working together to regulate cryptocurrency. And that is somewhat what this lawsuit is going to teach us. We're already seeing it happen in Europe. We've got the European Dollar Association, the Euro Association, so Digital Euro Association, and then we've also got the Digital Pound Foundation. Both of those bringing the public and the private sectors together. Funnily enough, both partnered with QNT. In fact, it's conspiracy. The Digital Euro Association are partnered with QNT, but I've been watching all their tweets. Gilbert Verdian has been liking all of them, and I fully anticipate it to come out that Quant have partnered with the Digital Euro Association. Mark my words of that. But it's also because, Ripple and QNT are also partnered with the Digital Pound Foundation. Look, let's see what happens, but just remember I said that, guys. But anyway, it gets into it, regulation through enforcement. I think it's how it was always going to start this way, scare tactics. But I do think we're eventually going to see public-private sectors working together to, form a clarity around regulating cryptocurrency. But now on to the key things and some really interesting points. And this is because Gary Gensler has now come out in a recent interview making some very interesting statements. completely switching up his tone. So not only have they been switching up their tone in the lawsuit, they're now switching up their tone with the media as well. So this is where the, you know, the speculative side of things is coming out, and everyone's saying, is a settlement on the horizon? Are they trying to, you know, plant in people's heads that they could potentially lose this lawsuit? Now, there's no mention whether they're talking about Ripple and XRP, but the question is there. And of course, you know, as holders ourselves, we're going to question it and put the name out there. But anyway, definitely have a read of this. I mean, John Deaton said as well, he's been advised Ripple could achieve a complete victory. This makes Judge Netburn's reconsideration decision, which I explained the context around at the beginning of this video, guys, even more significant. Only when and if the SEC is forced to turn over the 63 Hinman speech emails and possibly the other notes as well, will the SEC come to the table if then? And of course, now let me just show you what he actually said himself, guys. I think this is hilarious. By the way, that they're showing basically the start. So basically something he said a while ago, and then they're showing up the new clip where he's completely switched up his tone.
Now, over the years, the SEC has brought dozens of cases, many of them during my predecessor's time. I've only been here 3 months. And yet, having brought dozens of cases, we haven't lost a case.
Willing to litigate. This agency has to be willing to go into court and, you know, take some losses from time to time.
Now, over the years,
there you go. There you go. I just found that funny. He's like completely switching up, saying, yeah, we don't take losses, and then suddenly we got to be willing to, you know, litigate and, you know, take some losses time to time. And it's just a very interesting point when literally every piece of pressure is sitting on top of them in regards to the Ripple lawsuit. So I think moving forward, could we potentially see some stuff? Remember, it is within this 2-week range where obviously Judge Netburn has got some very important decisions to make, but it's also when both parties do sit down and have settlement talks. Now, of course, the question is, and I really want to ask this, you guys this, and make sure to put it down in the comments below. I haven't done even any plug-in. I haven't asked you guys to subscribe or like this video. You guys know to do that. If you enjoy my content, please feel free to like it and stuff, and leave a comment as well, and subscribe if you're not already. Remember, I do daily crypto content on this page. But I think, you know, it's just an interesting time. Judge Netburn's got interesting decisions to make. And of course, within this 2-week span, like I was saying, both parties do have to meet and confer, and basically, which means have a conversation about settlement talks. Now, of course, like I was saying, the question onto you guys, and put this in the comments below, do you think Ripple would be happy with a settlement? Or do you think that they would go for a complete victory in court, which of course would mean a longer lawsuit? And I'm going to end on that question right here, but I'm very, very interested to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. Kind of a different one today, but I've actually enjoyed it, just being able to come on here, share my opinion, get a bit speculative, get the speculative stuff out of my mind with you guys. Let me know what you think of it all in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day. Peace out.